Welcome to another episode of Cue It Up with the Q Brothers. I'm John Quattrucci.
And I'm Ralph Quattrucci.
And once again, we have brought our lucky charm. Every time the guy's on the show, we get more than 3 people watching it. Sean Paul Murphy, the author of Chapel Street, has joined us to, I've got my fingers crossed on tonight's episode because we had a couple of celebrity deaths, some actors that we're fond of. And the few times we have done this with these two guys, it turns into a shredding of these actors because all this awful stuff comes out. We find out after they die. Some we knew, but we found out more afterwards. So hopefully it's not going to go down that path because I'm pretty sure we haven't found out anything awful about these guys.
Not yet.
Not yet. So this can be a celebration of their movie careers. So we're going to talk about Ray Liotta, who just passed, and Fred Ward, who just passed, and then we'll do a little stream quest at the end. But let's start with Liotta, who obviously probably had the better career, and definitely had the best.
Say he had the more maybe successful.
Yeah, but I think he had the most iconic performance out of the two guys. Oh no, you know what? Now that I think of the right stuff, that's probably not right. Let's start with Liotta. And Ralph, I want to go right to you first because I know you wanted to talk about this. So let's start with your little take. We always like to talk about what are the movies that Liotta movie that you love and you would recommend and you want to talk about, or the actor himself.
Well, obviously, Goodfellas is the iconic Ray Liotta film that everybody's going to talk about. For me, it's the one behind me.
Something Wild.
Something Wild. Which I think was his first film, and it's the introduction to Ray Liotta to the movie going public. I think he probably did some stuff before this, but this is the one that I think got him the job, got him Goodfellas.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's just an amazing performance. He comes off. I mean, there's something up with him as soon as you see him.
He's got a little edge to him.
A little edge, but you don't really know because the movie's a bit of a comedy, but not a comedy. But by the end, when Ray Liotta's real personality or his character's, which is Lulu's ex-husband, it is brutal. And the intensity that Ray Liotta brought to that performance is just amazing. And I think that, like I said, it's why he got Goodfellas. And it's just...
Yeah, he turned on a dime in that movie, too. He became psychotic
that's
like
what I mean.
that.
It's an amazing film.
And the whole movie changed.
Yeah.
But so you know what? He was still human in it, though. He was still the character in the sense that...
Well, as opposed to what? What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, it's like he's like chummy and friendly, then he's crazy.
Yeah.
But, spoilers, he gets stabbed by Jeff Daniels' character. And I forgot what Jeff Daniels' character, Rick or something. Ray Liotta just looks at him and goes, Rick. It's like he's surprised he's stabbed by Rick. He was just about to kill him. And
Ray Liotta's name was Ray. What was his name? It wasn't Rick. I'll look it up. Yeah. But that scene and as brutal as Ray Liotta's character was, Ray, you still felt bad that he got stabbed in a weird way. It was because it was such an accident and it came out of nowhere.
Charles Driggs.
Right.
I think it said like Charlie. He's like
Charlie.
And Ray Liotta played Ray Sinclair.
Right. I said Ray. I was right about Ray.
Ray played Ray.
Yeah. So to me, and of course, obviously, Field of Dreams is another one where I just
that's the one I was going to talk about.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's one of his stand-ups, but I like his little parts in all the little other movies that he does. Killing Me Softly, he plays. He's good at playing the gangster stuff, and he does a lot of it. And I just watched something on YouTube, 2 movies, Narc and Smoking Aces, that he did for Joe Carnahan, and he's great in both of those. I mean, Ray Liotta was just solid in pretty much everything he did.
Well, and I wish I'd have seen Narc again. I was watching some of his films. I'd love to have watched Narc. I did, I should have had time.
So what are your Ray Liotta films, Sean?
Well, I hadn't seen Something Wild in a long time. I did see it in the movies, and I really liked it. But frankly, watching it this time, when you're older, films are different. And then sort of like, You know, if I were married and had kids like Jeff Daniels said he had, would I go off with this crazy girl? You know what I mean? I bought it when I saw the film.
Yeah, but wait a minute. He was married, but he was separated. They were gone.
His wife had left him and took the kids.
Right.
Like 2 years earlier.
Right.
So, I mean, technically speaking, he was free to do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's sort of like, would you meet a girl and then let her handcuff you in bed 10 minutes later?
If she was Melanie Griffith back then?
I think you just answered.
I
might contemplate that, Sean.
Yeah, but you know, to me, it didn't seem as fresh because the initial plot, because you look at it, it's Pixie Girlfriend, you know, crazy girl who loosens up guys, goes back as far as Bringing Up Baby,
right, with
Katharine Hepburn being the nutty heiress, freeing Cary Grant, and even older, you know. So, but I tell you what, when Ray Liotta shows up in the film, he is like a fireball of energy. Yeah. And what I really loved about it, and this is why I'm going with this as my favorite Liotta film, is he just had that, you just had to watch him. And as a character and as an actor, he seems so unpredictable. You know, I mean, you know, in the movie, the character, he could kill these people or he could let them go. You know, I mean, it's like, he is just, you know, that's what made it exciting to me. It's sort of like, oh, guy goes off with the crazy girl and it frees them. You know, I've seen that, but I really haven't seen the Ray Liotta character. You know, so I thought, you know, that it's easy to see why he got Goodfellas. It's easy to see why he got everything. You know, I mean, but look at, you know, even before Goodfellas, he did Dominic and Eugene, you know, which was a little film about brothers.
Yeah, he was the older brother watching the kid, right? Yeah. Tom Hulce, wasn't it?
Tom Hulce, yeah. You know, another great performance by Tom Hulce. And Field of Dreams. You know, and here's something I want to bring up about both of them when we get to the chance. You know, it's so hard to become a movie star, you know, and sometimes they try to manufacture a star. And sometimes it happens strictly by talent. And I think this was a case with Ray Liotta that it's sort of like, you know, he's appearing in all these TV shows, you know, this and that, soap operas. And then he did something wild. And it's an equivalent moment because it's not, you know, it's not the starring role. It's equivalent to when Brad Pitt shows up in Thelma and Louise.
Yeah.
And then suddenly Brad Pitt is a thing. And he was in that film just very briefly. But this was a star-making turn. And then you have to be lucky after that. And,
well,
you know, and you have to get the roles.
Yeah.
And, you know, you look at it, I mean, Dominic and Eugene was a great film, but it's not like, oh my God, you know, I got to see Ray Liotta. You know, Field of Dreams, he was very good, but he's secondary. And then, but finally, you know, and it's hard to tell when these films were released, also when they were shot. But Goodfellas comes out and he's a star. But then, you know, after Goodfellas, you're an actor like that. By this time, he's probably being handled by one of the top agents at CAA or William Morris. And then you got to look at what they do. They do like, you know, he's in a position where he could do anything, you know, and he does like Article 99, All Alone. You know, No Escape was a failed. It's like he's trying to do a wide variety of stuff.
Right.
You know, Article 99 is kind of a serious film. No Escape is like, did you see that? It was it was like, you know, it was an okay action film, but, you know, nothing you're going to write home about. Then Operation Dumbo Drop. And, you know, I like Unforgettable, but it wasn't like a great role, you know, and I don't think. And then he does Turbulence, where he's the crazy killer kind of guy, you know, which is, you know.
Well, don't you think, you know, you watch that Nicolas Cage film, and Nicolas Cage, the point he made in his film that we talked about, the unbearable weight of massive talent, is he's a working actor. Right.
Yeah, but to me, I think, you know, Ray Liotta had a career that 99.9% of actors would envy.
Right.
But I think, had he gotten in a lane and stayed in it, like action or gangsters, I think he might have been an even bigger star. One thing he doesn't seem to do, and tell me if I'm wrong, I don't think he was ever like a lead in a romantic comedy.
I don't, and I think that's an interesting point because both these actors were not the leading man romantic type.
Yeah.
They're not classically handsome because Liotta is got that crazed look on his face all the time. He's pockmarked on his face, and he played, and I think he did get a little pigeonhole with the roles he was playing. He never played the romantic lead. Neither did Fred Ward, for that matter.
Henry and June.
What was that?
Henry and June.
Yeah, but overall, overall, look at his career. I mean, he played the tough guy, even in No Escape. If you remember that movie, the reason why he was in prison, he punched a military guy out at the beginning of the movie. Then they stuck him in that penal colony.
I'm just trying to find any romance. I know he did. There's something he did with Goldie Hawn or somebody.
Well, I'm not saying he didn't, but if you look at his career,
no, his career is definitely either.
There was a period in the '90s where there was like 8 romantic comedies a year. You've Got Mail, this,
right?
All sorts of stuff. And so many actors are getting those roles, but he wasn't. No, he was in some films. There was one with was it Lily Tomlin, and maybe I'm thinking Fred Ward, but there were there were
Double Trouble. Her and Bette Midler. That was Fred Ward.
That was Fred Ward.
Yeah, and he didn't do a lot of comedy. I mean, he didn't.
He could definitely do it. His character in Killing Me Softly is kind of like the comic relief.
Right.
He's like the lightest guy in the show.
Yeah, kind of.
But he could do it. I mean, he did it. Ralph, you brought up the B movie. He had great delivery in that movie, but he just wasn't. He did get a little pigeonholed. I mean, listen, you get pigeonholed.
It's Ray Liotta. How do you get away from that persona?
Right.
I mean, that's
exactly.
That's the thing about Ray Liotta.
And it's the persona that made him.
That's right. It's Ray Liotta. That's it. So I think he was even in a Muppet movie. I'm just looking at the IMDb.
Yeah, he was in a Muppet.
But it's Ray Liotta in the Muppet movie. You know what I mean? You can't hide behind. He's not a De Niro who can lose himself. And it's Ray Liotta.
De Niro took him a long time to do a comedy. And once he did it, now that's all he does is comedies now. But it was when he came out.
Here he is. And this is the entrance in the film when we first see him. He's just so good. I mean, it was just like
that movie. That movie was a little goofy and funny.
Yeah.
And then when he shows up, there was a little tension, not a lot, a little, because he's the ex. And then it just was like, what the hell just happened in this movie? And it went crazy. And all the reviewers talked about was him and Melanie Griffith, because it was one of her first movies where she was the lead.
It made her a superstar.
It was before Working Girl.
It made her. Well, yeah, Working Girl, I guess, put her in the thing. But
But Liotta, his performance is the one that got picked out. And like you guys said, he got Goodfellas because of this. I mean, we're not really talking about Goodfellas because that is his best performance. There's no question about it. In fact, I think he carried the movie. They were all good in it. Pesci was great in it. De Niro was great in it. Savino was great in it. But he was the anchor of the movie.
Well, you know what worked for him in that film is the narration that he did.
Right.
Normally, narration never works. And we've talked about this before. There were other narrators in this film, but he was the main one. We learned about what he was thinking inside while we're watching him do his stuff. And that's why he was such a compelling character in that film.
Yeah.
Something Wild got him as a star, but Goodfellas was star making. Once he got that, he was.
Well, he was recognized as an actor with that one.
And how subtle was he as Shoeless Joe Jackson?
Well, that's what I was going to talk about.
It's not really subtle. Go ahead, talk about it.
Listen, it was the most. It was one of the most normal performances he had done in a movie. In fact, Shoeless Joe Jackson's a lefty, Liotta's a righty, and the director was like, listen, he's so likable and he's so good at this. I don't care. No one's going to care.
And the director said, these are ghosts coming out of the... maybe he wants to be right-handed as he comes out.
But he was like... very relatable. It was for lack of, I want to say this the right way. Every role he does, it's like he's shot out of a cannon, right? It just energy. And that he was laid back because the movie called for it. And he was really good in it, and funny scenes in it. You know, everyone knows the baseball scene when he hit the ball back at Costner. That was a mistake, a good mistake. And he was funny. The next one's going to be Low and Outside or In Your Ear, either one. It was just really nice. And he was great in that. And I've talked about this last week, and the film is called The Rat Pack. For anyone who hasn't seen it, he plays Frank Sinatra. And,
he does a great job.
When you see Ray Liotta, you do not think Frank Sinatra, but they put his hair line up higher, and he was really, really good in it. Like he played Frank Sinatra like a real person, not how most people play it as a caricature. And it was really well. Now there were moments like when Kennedy ended up blowing off. He was supposed to stay with him, Sinatra, and he blew it off because he didn't want to be associated with gangsters. There was a scene where he just went crazy, and I'm going, okay, that's Ray Liotta. But that was really the only scene that did that, and he was really good in it. I enjoyed it. Those are my, other than Goodfellas, because I put that in a separate category. Those are my two favorite Ray Liotta performances, and I liked No Escape. It was a stupid summer movie. It was a strange movie because I think it was filmed in Australia or something. It was just weird. No technology. Do you remember? And the guy who played the villain was really, really good too. I can't remember his name, but
he's
an English guy.
I know who you're talking about. I can't think of his name.
He was also in Under Siege. He played one of the military guys in Under Siege, and he was the bad guy in one of the Lethal Weapon movies. He always plays a bad guy, but he's English. But he always plays an American. He never plays an English guy. So for me, that's what it was for Liotta. And he was only, what was he, 67 years old? Isn't that what I heard?
Yeah. Do we know how?
No, they have not. See, that's the other thing. Why I'm a little hesitant. They said he died in his sleep, and and nothing has come out. So there's got to be something more. He was in Dominican Republic, I think, isn't that where he was? Yeah. Filming a movie. And they're just not saying anything. So that makes me a little queasy, and I hope we don't find out later on. Maybe
I also want to mention he was in The Saints of Newark.
That's the prequel to
the Sopranos thing.
Sopranos.
Yeah, what did you think of that?
I based on, I guess we can spoil it now, but he was playing two people, one legit and one imaginary. But he was great. I thought he was great.
You think the jail guy was imaginary?
Yeah, I think that was in the other guy's head. Because that whole baseball scene where they had radio-controlled baseballs in the league,
radio-controlled baseball.
They were playing. The whole thing was Montesanti goes and visits him and this guy in the prison, and he's talking about this radio-controlled for baseball for blind kids.
Yeah. It makes a noise.
Yeah, but it was a complete okay, this is why I think it was in his own head. But Liotta played the real guy who Maltasani murdered in his car. His father, right? And then in the jail, he goes and visits this mafioso guy who's also Ray Liotta. And he was
kind of freaked Debbie out, my wife Debbie out with that.
Yeah, but
was that his last role?
No, he did millions of things after that.
Yeah.
Wait, that was. I mean, that
was one of his later. That was one of his.
I mean, that was a year ago, right?
The other guy's name is Stuart Wilson. The guy you're talking about, Stuart Wilson,
the bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's done like about 8 things.
I mean, look at this. I keep looking back at this thing, and he's so good in this film. It's just crazy.
Well, there's some people like in their debuts, they just crackle on screen. He did that in that movie.
That's why I'm even putting that above Goodfellas as a performance.
Because it was his introduction.
That's what Recchi. It's just like, wow, who is this guy? Who is that?
It's sort of like a band too. It's sort of like that first record has to be so good to get you the attention.
Yeah.
Because unknown people have such a little chance. And like actor, there's like a band that, when someone gets really popular, the world gives them their ear. It's sort of like, okay, this is your 15 minutes. Let's see what you got. And I think Liotta got that. I mean, he had a great career all the way through. I mean, he's doing the Sopranos thing, came out last year before he died. But I just look at the series of roles, and I don't think he was necessarily bad in any of them, but it's sort of like, I don't think the people who managed him knew what the hell he was doing.
Yeah, but that may be his choice too. And the fact is,
a lot of guys don't want to be typecast.
He gave it all in everything he did. I don't think there's you never look at a Ray Liotta
Operation Dumbo Drop.
Well, maybe I haven't seen that one.
That could have been a money grab.
But you think about something wild. You got Melanie Griffith star making. Jeff Daniels is great in this film as well, and he's the one that just you can't take your eyes off this guy. I mean. That says something right there.
Well, it was like Eddie Murphy in 48 Hours.
Right.
That's what it reminded me of.
Same deal.
You're like, oh, this guy's going to be
like
something
Brad
special.
Pitt and
you're right.
Eddie Murphy and it's like you get these debut performances that are
unlike Fred Ward, who's more of a slow burn, more of a he's just there. He's like a piece of furniture, but he's great and he's comfortable. But
he's a second banana.
Well,
he really
is.
Always. No, not always. But if you look at his career, his filmography, he was usually second banana.
No, to me, Fred Ward, Ray Liotta was definitely more star material.
Right.
That both men were incredibly talented. But, Liotta was taller. Although he did have the pockmarks, he was a handsome guy. And I'm not saying that Fred Ward wasn't ruggedly handsome. You know what I mean? But Fred Ward looked like a character actor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
To me, the most amazing thing about Fred Ward is that, if you look at his career, it's really fascinating that early on, now, he was a boxer and all. He said he broke his nose 4 times.
Well, you could tell that.
Yeah. But if you look at early in his career, he got some it's really surprising when you looked at it. He got some, like, pretty good leads, right up at the beginning. Like that Mike Nesmith movie. What is it? The one where
Elephant Parts?
No, Time Rider.
Oh, yeah. The motorcycle I remember that movie. He went back in time.
Yeah.
To the West.
Yeah. Mike Nesmith was one of the writers, and he was one of the.
Oh, I didn't know that. I was looking. Actually, I was looking up the name of that movie. I forgot the name of it.
Yeah, Time Rider. But you see, he'd already done Southern Comfort before that.
Southern Comfort.
But before that, I mean, I love Southern Comfort. That's hopefully be a film we'll talk about one day. And you got to also look at, even though IMDb was. It's quite possible that he filmed his parts of Right Stuff before he even did Time Rider, and just, Time Rider being a smaller film came out.
Time Rider was 82.
Yeah, and Right Stuff was 83, but he could have filmed Time Rider after that, before that movie came out. But, he was, on the work that he had done before, which was a lot of little roles. He does Southern Comfort, and they give him the lead of, this Lyle Swan film. And then, Gus Grissom, that's a great movie that people don't talk enough about.
Yeah.
The Right Stuff. And he's great in it.
Yeah. Who doesn't talk about the right stuff enough? Wait a minute. Who doesn't talk about the right stuff enough?
No, his performance in The Right Stuff. Isn't that what you mean?
The Right Stuff, that the whole thing is talked about in great esteem, that film.
It is, but I don't think.
And his Gus Grissom is, like, incredible.
Yeah, I don't think young people, and the sad thing about
that's true. That's true. Young people.
Young people don't watch anything anymore.
That's also true.
And the whole thing about the Gus Grissom, he blows it. He does a great job. And that great scene where his wife is like, "How come I'm not meeting Jackie?"
Yeah,
right.
And this and that.
Explosive bolts malfunction.
It's devastating. Yeah. Devastating.
And just because if you're like us and you were around during the astronaut program, he's going to die. He's going to die in a capsule. So there's just this great tragedy to the character. He does it so well, and that is such a great movie.
And whenever you hear the name Gus Grissom, because when you watch shows, it's always him.
Right.
I mean, that's the legacy that he's created for Gus Grissom.
F&A.
That's him.
F&A.
Yeah.
It's about monkeys.
And then they give him Remo Williams, another lead.
The Destroyer.
Now, that was another film. I saw it. I did not see it in the theaters.
Oh.
I'll tell you how old it was. I saw it in a rented VHS before Blockbusters were even around.
Wow.
And it's sort of like, I know I saw it. I have no memory of it. So this was a film while I was working. I had it on TV.
Ralph, you don't remember. You and I went to see this in the movie theater. Because afterwards we kept doing this.
I saw it.
Yeah,
I saw Remo Williams.
Because I kept doing that move he did. Whoa, and you would do it too.
Yeah, what was it? Joel Grey. Playing a Korean master art expert.
Wait, you're telling me we went to the movies together?
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. We saw Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan.
That's the one I remember. We had creatures in our bodies.
Creatures in our bodies make us do things.
I think we saw Alien together too.
Yes, actually. That was my second rated R movie I ever saw was Alien.
Alien. Yeah. So Fred Ward also, he was great in The Player. Remember, he played like a security guard or something. I forget what his. But he knew all about movies. He played
like a detective. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but here's the thing about Fred Ward. Remo Williams failed. You know, and that was directed by Guy Hamilton, who did like a number of Bond pictures, including Goldfinger. You know, but Fred Ward had his chance at stardom because he did Tremors. Which is, I think, probably one of the roles he's most remembered for. And then 1990, the same year, he does my favorite film, which I just watched, Miami Blues. That may have been my favorite film of 1990, if I could find my list. So he's the lead in that. He's also the executive producer. He's the lead in Tremors, or maybe he's second bill.
Oh, I didn't know. He executive produced Miami Blues?
Yeah, and do you remember we were talking about it on YKY and just who directed it? And I said it's somebody in the Jonathan
George something. What's his name?
But Demi produced it. Armitage was a friend of his. They were both done by Orion Pictures and released through MGM. And they also had some of the same supporting actors in them. Like Charles Napier was Fred Ward's partner, and he was the cook that chases Jeff Daniels out of the restaurant. In
Napier's in all of Demi's films. He's
so it's like there's a lot of similarity.
He was in the Blues Brothers,
and then he was in Henry and June, which I don't know, directed by Phil Kaufman. This was like, hey, we're going to make a serious sex film. I didn't care for the movie, but it was a big movie. It was an important movie. So in 1990, he had 3 films, because this was the one that was going to make NC-17 respectable. They were doing a big push. We're going to deal with honest sexuality in films. We're not going to have X-rating. We're going to have NC-17. I didn't care much for the movie myself, but, and of course it was directed by Phil Kaufman, who did The Right Stuff, if I'm not mistaken. So
he did. Did he also do The Unbearable Lightness of? Yeah.
Yeah. So he did. Fred Ward had 3 big leads in big movies in 1990. And for some reason, even though I'm not a big fan of Henry and June, he did a good job.
Yeah.
My problem wasn't with him, but it's like, that was like the peak for him. And he still continued to do a lot of great work. He's in The Player, as you mentioned, Thunderheart, Bob Roberts, Tremors 2. He continued to work throughout the rest of his, he seemed to retire. He was getting old.
Again, it's like the Ray Liotta thing. He was just solid actor. Yeah. Like he didn't feel like he was
phoning it in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. He earned his paycheck.
Who he reminds me of? Warren Oates.
Yes, Warren. Good. That's a good call. Yeah,
the Warren Oates of his time.
I love Warren Oates, and I think you're right. That's a good comparison.
They kind of look alike. They got the same kind of like squashed, manly face, kind of. They seem to be like about the same height.
Well, and remember, Miami Blues, he's playing it with no teeth.
Right.
Yeah.
He got his teeth knocked out and taken by Alec Baldwin or whoever took him.
Yeah, he was built above Alec Baldwin too.
Really?
That was a really good early.
That was an early Alec Baldwin film, though.
Yeah,
That's pretty early.
That character is really psychotic.
Yeah, that was in his handsome. That was in his handsome stage.
And that's when he would only pretend to shoot people.
Easy.
Did I say that?
Well, is that timely? Ralph, how about you?
I want to say one more thing about Miami Blues, other than the fact that's great, is that I think it's my favorite Jennifer Jason Leigh film, too. She was really good in it.
Yeah.
And it's one of the few films where they have sex scenes that forward the plot. Because usually if there's like a sex scene in a movie, it's usually like, okay, we're stopping here to breast. You know what I mean? But I think, when you see him with, not Fred Ward, Alec Baldwin in the intimate scenes with Jennifer Jason Leigh, they're really displaying things about their character, which is not what you normally see.
She's always an honest. She plays it. She's an honest character. She's an honest actress. Like there's no. Yeah. My favorite Fred Ward is Gus Grissom, no doubt about it. I just thought his interplay between him and Dennis Quaid, Randy Quaid. I'm sorry, Dennis Quaid.
Dennis Quaid.
Dennis Quaid. And heartbreaking. The when the capsule sinks and all that stuff goes on, and he said, the bolts didn't fire, whatever he was saying, heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And knowing that he's gonna die as the character, not Fred Ward, but the character, it's just a heartbreaking, powerful performance that he pulled off. Right down to, he's doing that little stupid thing about bringing the little capsules up in the thing, and the pennies fall out of his...
Carrying a bunch of dimes.
Yeah, when they fall out, when they're examining him and they fall out, and it's his reaction to that, he's just very, very good. And Tremors is my probably number 2. I just thought he and Kevin Bacon, they are what made that film successful. All right, forget the graboids and all that stuff that's going. Well, I shouldn't say that. Michael J. Fox's dad is the gun nut. It's good too, but
and his wife,
right, Reba McEntire, right. But Fred Ward and Kevin Bacon really just made that film what it was. They were so good together.
And that was a 50s sci-fi movie. That's what
total
that was.
Total B flick. Total.
Yeah, he was very good in that. I enjoyed that movie.
So,
and they've made 6 others since that movie came out. With Michael Gross,
right?
His character is the lead in 4 of them,
right?
So you guys, I like Fred Ward. He reminds me of like a workhorse.
Oh wait, something just came in about some sexual. No, I'm kidding. It's all good, clean.
He was caught with Ray Liotta. By the way, I sent Ralph a text about this podcast, and I said. When we talk, what time do you want to do the Liotta Ward show tonight? So Ralph started looking up who Liotta Ward was. He wasn't familiar with that particular actor.
I don't understand. And Sean's like, yeah, I'll be there at 9. Who's Liotta Ward? What? I'm looking it up. What the hell?
But he reminds me of those Ward.
That's a testament to him too. That great directors like Robert Altman and Phil Kaufman kept wanting to use him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I mean. I think they're both workhorse actors. They remind me of those actors in the 40s and 50s that weren't always the lead, but they were always there in the movies. That's what they kind of remind me of. And for me, with Fred Ward, I read all the Destroyer novels, which is what Remo Williams is based on. So I loved that movie. The problem was the budget was a joke.
Are you saying there was a novelization for those films?
Actually, there was for that film, but the series of books is great. He doesn't fit the character at all, but who cares? Neither did Tom Cruise when he made Reacher. But I will say that the scene on the Statue of Liberty still works today. The stuff they did on that still looks great. It looks like they were up there because they built from the shoulders up full size. So it's really impressive. So I really liked him in that, but I'll pick an obscure one that he was very funny in, Naked Gun 33.5.
Oh, yeah.
With Leslie Nielsen. Very funny in it. He was the gang leader that Leslie Nielsen, Drebin had to infiltrate the gang. So, but that for me, those, Tremors, The Right Stuff, and this Naked Gun 33.5. It's sad because I don't know how old he was either. He wasn't an older guy. He had to be in his late 60s.
He was like 78 or 79.
He was 70. He was that old? Wow, I'm shocked at that. I'm sorry. You looking it up, Ralph?
Yeah.
I'm surprised. And I think he did some.
Old.
How old?
79.
Wow, I'm shocked
young.
at that.
That's young.
That is young, but I thought he was younger than that. I figured he was the same age as Liotta.
Yeah.
I was actually surprised how young he was. I mean, Ralph, he's only 7 years older than you.
I know. Look at that.
Holy
That's very
God.
young. Wait,
Yeah.
he was in Chain Reaction with
Keanu Reeves. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, these are just two, I think, just straight up hardworking actors. And
yeah. And they both got their moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, what was Fred Ward's moment? Was that The Right Stuff or Remo Williams? Which
no, it was, I mean, if you want to talk about that iconic performance, it's The Right Stuff.
That's what I think.
Yeah. It's not Remo Williams.
What I mean is he got to be the lead.
Yes.
Right Stuff was an ensemble piece.
But, in the time capsule, when they talk about his career, they'll bring up Remo Williams, but they're going to talk about The Right Stuff.
It's Gus Grissom.
Exactly.
Yeah. And with Liotta, it's going to be Goodfellas.
Now, were these guys also stage actors too? Did you guys know if
I think Liotta was. I don't think Ward was.
I don't think Ward was.
Yeah. I think Liotta was a New York stage actor, in the mold of De Niro and those guys. But I think they're, it's funny. Some actors pass away and you're kind of sad about it. And others you're sad because, you're not going to see them anymore. Mm-hmm. And I think these are two guys that are like that. Like, you see them in everything. Now you're not going to see them at all.
Well, I'm going to say this. This is not, I think Liotta, yes. I'm not sure about Fred Ward. I think he kind of got off.
I always liked him. I mean,
I'm not saying I didn't like him, but I think Liotta is one because he kept working. You kept seeing him in all these great things. Great roles.
He was still young enough that he was still going to do a lot more.
Right. And he was the go-to crime boss guy too. I mean, you think about all these other things he was the crime boss.
Yeah.
You see Liotta, and if he's not a crime boss, you're like, what? How's that?
Exactly.
So what I loved about Ward is that he could play the comedy, and there was he could be a cop, and he's got like a smirk. You know what I mean? Like a knowing smirk. He's in the character, he's in the role, he's got like this knowing smirk. And here's my brush with greatness. My first film, 21 Eyes, the lead roles were all. Okay.
We'll put a link down in the comment section.
These were all voiceover roles. And in the voiceover roles, we got Academy Award-winning Fisher Stevens, Michael Buscemi, who's Steve Buscemi's brother, who sounds just like him. It's like you get Steve Buscemi for scale. And, I forgot the woman, Mary Birdsong, who was one of the daughters in the weird uncle in Lampoon Vacation movies. So we got those leads. But what we were offered, and I guess they had the same agent, was we were offered, to me, a dream cast of Fred Ward to play the old detective, Jason Lee, this was after Almost Famous, but before My Name is Earl, and Janine Garofalo. And we could have all three of them for $25,000 for the movie.
Each or total?
Total.
Oof. What?
Yeah. But the thing was, we had Jason Lee was not available and for like a month. And we wanted to get the film done in time for Sundance. So, and their agent was like, okay, use these other actors after you get to get the film done and then come back with us and get these guys. And I would have just loved, I love the cast we had, but the chance to have worked with Fred Ward, and I love Jason Lee too, and Janine Garofalo.
I'm sure Fred was saying the same thing about you too. I would have wished.
I bet he was. I bet he absolutely had no idea.
I was just going to say, the thing I remember about Fred Ward in The Player is the way he walked. He did this walk thing. When you watch that movie again, just watch the way Fred Ward walks.
I'd love to see a clip of that. If only.
We were offered for 21 Eyes.
Wait. Let me see.
Come on, Ralph. Get the remote going. I want to see.
William Shatner.
Retrospective Evil was 6.5 minutes long. 6.5 minutes, Walter? 3 or 4 anyway. He set up the whole picture with that one tracking shot.
See?
I see what you're talking about.
See how he just...
I like that. I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
What about Absolute Beginners, man? That was an extraordinary shot. What the hell was that? I've never heard of it.
So Fred and Ray, rest in peace.
All right.
Thank you for a wonderful, wonderful careers. We're sad to see you go.
Yeah.
So, and that was nice that we didn't trash them either, because that's seems to be
Well,
our.
Nothing but praise for these guys.
Well,
let's see what happens in the next couple of days.
If other stuff comes out, we will do a sequel to this podcast.
I'm editing for a couple of days. If something pops up, I'll throw it in there.
So listen, real quick, because we've gone just about 45 minutes. I want to do a little stream quest. So Ralph, get that logo up. We spent a lot of money on it.
Oh my God!
Okay?
I gotta do this
Hit
again.
the remote again.
And
I mean, Sean, that is good looking stuff.
I am impressed.
Yeah. So, Sean, since you're our guest, I'm going to start with you. Just give us one thing you're watching.
Oh, well, we watch. Oh, streaming?
Yeah.
Well, I started, and I'm waiting for Debbie now, the Val Kilmer documentary.
Oh,
you haven't seen that yet?
Outstanding.
Huh?
Yeah, I watched most of it, but I'm like, I don't want to finish it until Debbie can watch it. But very sad.
Yeah, it is. But the fact that he puts himself out there like that is pretty brave.
Yeah, and you got to admire that. And,
and he was in Maverick.
He's making his own obituary, essentially.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And his kid, who does the narration as Val Kilmer, sounds just like him. And the other amazing thing is all the video footage that he took way back when there weren't a lot of video cameras out there. And
he was doing it from the get.
Yeah. But it was sad to see the progression and how bad it got. Also in Maverick, I did not know this. They used artificial intelligence for his voice. So that was not his real voice because he can't talk. So
what does that mean? They ADR'd it? What does that mean? Was he on the set?
They did some kind of I don't know if it was an algorithm or something.
Oh, so it sounded like him. It would have been his voice.
That's right.
I mean, it just sounded like an old guy going.
It'd be like you speaking, and then they run it through the Val Kilmer.
Well, they got tons of me. They got tons of us on YouTube now.
I thought it was him. I mean, and then I read afterwards that he couldn't talk, so it was sad. I mean, it was nice to see him in it, but it was also sad because it was.
Look how old he got, and Tom Cruise looks just as young as he was.
Tom Cruise bathes in virgin's blood. There's no way that guy. Listen, he's I know I've said this before. He is probably the last movie star. Brad Pitt.
No, Tom Cruise. Listen, the thing that impressed me about going to Maverick is he did that. Did at your theater? Did he do that little?
No, they didn't.
Oh, I got the Tom Cruise talking to us.
I love that.
Somebody told me afterwards, and I go, "No, that didn't do that."
And it seemed like he makes you feel like he's actually talking to you. He's insane.
Whatever you think about Tom Cruise, and people have a lot of opinions.
We made this movie for you.
He said that, and the look he gave.
Hundreds of other people, we did this for you.
He said,
"We really hope you enjoy it." And thank you for coming out.
Yeah,
thank you.
He said we all worked really hard. He called out everybody, not by name, but just said everybody worked hard, and we did this for you. And he had this look like, oh my God, it's like he's sitting right there.
There was nobody in.
I mean,
Hollywood,
the movie still was a little.
There's nobody in Hollywood that caters to fans like Tom Cruise does.
No, he's also a producer, so he wants
he
people
is.
to go.
But I mean, he's out there all the time.
No,
I mean,
he's always been like that.
But Chris was right. Not a gray hair on his head. Come on.
I mean, I don't. That doesn't. I mean, women color their hair, so who cares?
Can't.
You know what? And I tell you
what happens. This is what happens.
What'd you say, Sean?
A friend of mine worked with him on a movie, and they were like, he was the best guy to work with. He was completely smooth. But of course, me, the cynic, and saying, yeah, because he's already had managers, agents, and assistants pave everything the way. But by the time he gets there, he's all business. He's Mr. Friendly. He's all about doing the job.
Yeah, doing the best they can. I mean, all the actors on Maverick were talking about his commitment and how he's got more energy than any of them. And they're all 20 years younger than him.
He's producing those, and he's up, and, but the fact that he did this little thing in front of the movie was very impressive.
Well, then he tweeted out a thank you.
See that.
You see, he tweeted out a thank you for the box office. He's like, thank you for enjoying this movie. We put a lot of work into it. Right. Listen, I give him a lot of credit. Ralph, what are you watching?
Well, I finally took Drew's what am I call it? A recommendation, and I'm watching For All Mankind, the series on Apple Plus about it's a reverse. It's a science fiction series. It's in the third season. I'm starting season 1. as if the Russians landed on the moon first and how it changes history.
I never heard of that.
Yeah, it's called For All Mankind. And I guess I read a review about the 3rd season, which says this is a science fiction series to watch. So I started episode 1 this week, and I'm going to go through it all.
Yeah,
and I know The Boys is out, but I'm waiting. I'm going to wait for all the boys to drop because I can't wait.
Well, what I'm watching is I watched the first episode.
Yeah.
And it is.
Is this the orgy one?
It's not an orgy.
Well, there's got to be some orgy.
But remember the frontal nudity that we talked about?
Yeah.
Take that to the nth degree.
Really?
I'll just give you a hint without giving anything away. There's a super who can shrink down to microscopic size.
Right.
And frontal nudity. That's all I'm going to say. Okay.
Okay.
All right. His name is Termite. And he is gay.
Okay.
Okay. So frontal nudity, a guy who can shrink down really small. And it was the most.
Oh, God.
It was so boys, like the boys.
Yeah.
I'm not going to watch any more episodes because, like Ralph, I want to wait till they all drop. But I had to watch the first one to see if they were going to keep up the craziness level, and they keep it up. So if you're not watching the show,
if they're nude, you should be able to see if they dropped.
Well, there's some big orgy thing happening in this season that I don't know if it happened in the first one, but it's supposed to be.
I'm not going to give anything,
okay,
but you'll be blown away by it. The other thing that I'll just mention, I haven't watched it yet, but Obi-Wan Kenobi,
yeah,
and it's getting trashed because they're retconning it and they're making the women the biggest character in the show, and all the Star Wars fans they're just wrecking Obi-Wan Kenobi, who's such a great character.
Women can't be up there. I get it.
No, it's not that they can't be up. How about this? How about create your original female characters?
Well, because
instead of getting rid of
nobody did it because females were always stuck in the back.
And you got Ewan McGregor playing the role.
Let him retcon.
Why put him in the background? So anyhow, check if you're not watching The Boys, you're missing out. It's even if you don't like superhero shows like my brother, it's great. And it's crazy.
No, I love The Boys.
I know you do. I'm saying I know you love it. But you're not a guy that's a superhero fan.
No, not one bit.
You love this show.
100%.
It's raunchy. It's violent. It is. I mean, it is like it's not for the kids. Let's put it that way. All right, that's it. So, Sean,
what about Sean? You dropped what? Did Sean?
No, Sean already did his, Ralph. He was the first one.
I got a question before you go.
Yeah.
Did you see the trailer for the Elvis film?
Yes.
And?
Oh yeah.
I know you're a big Elvis fan. I'm just wondering what you're.
I'll tell you what. The first trailer scared the crap out of me because that director he did Moulin Rouge.
Yeah. He's a musical.
I'm not a big fan of his style.
Oh.
So I wasn't crazy with the first trailer that dropped. Then they did a lot more of the kid playing Elvis, and I was very impressed with him. Tom Hanks in that fat suit with that accent. I don't know. I'm the villain in this here piece, or whatever the hell he says. So my fingers are crossed. I will say that I've seen some early reviews of it that are very complimentary of the kid, not so much the movie. So I'm looking forward to it because I'll tell you the best Elvis movie about him was with Kurt Russell.
John Carpenter.
Excellent. So I'm hoping this one does justice to Elvis.
You know what? All I want of that film is that it gets young people interested in listening to some Elvis.
Listen, if they can do what they did with Queen in this movie.
Yeah, but Queen is one of those bands that just keeps coming back every generation.
Ralph.
People are not going to.
Ralph, the number one branded musician today is Elvis.
Yeah, ask young kids about Elvis.
I don't care.
And then ask young kids about Queen.
If you put a picture of Elvis up and a picture of Queen, people are going to tell you it's no Elvis. They're going to know Elvis.
That's fine, but do they listen to Elvis or do they listen to Queen?
I don't know. I know that
I can tell you they don't listen to Elvis.
A couple of remixes over the last couple of years have gone in the top 10.
No. I'm telling you.
Let me tell you something. 50 years from now, they're not going to be talking about Queen. They'll be talking about Elvis.
Queen's been out for 50 years now, dude. They're talking about it.
50 years from now.
There's a big scene in that movie where Elvis says they're not going to know who I am. They're going to forget who I am.
And they're wrong.
I'll tell you one thing.
He's wrong. Yeah.
That we love Queen and Elvis.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But the point is, you ask about young people, they're not listening to Elvis.
You know what? There'll never be another Beatles. There'll never be another Elvis.
That's
Elvis
true.
changed
That's
music.
true.
So I'm listen, with all my heart, I want this movie to be good. I'm a little nervous about some of the stuff I've seen, but the kid sounds just like him. Doesn't look like him, but he sounds just like him. So.
Well, as for one more film coming up, what are you guys feeling about the Jurassic Park one?
Who gives a crap?
Well, I will tell you, I saw the first one with Chris Pratt. I did not see the second one. And since they're bringing back Sam Neill and what's her name?
Laura
Dern.
I'm going to go see this movie.
No, yeah, you're going to see it.
For me, the first movie still holds up.
Yes.
Without all that CGI. I mean, there's CGI in it, but it's not as
You're
CGI
talking about your OG,
the
Jurassic
original.
Park.
The original.
Yeah, well,
it's such a great movie.
And they still had practical stuff too.
That's right. Sam Winston, a lot of practical stuff. And I love that movie. In fact, I just watched it again. It's just such a good movie. And I remember seeing it for the first time.
That sense of awe when you saw the first time.
It's like, how are they going to do this? And I mean, they really did it. So the other
but
ones
that was
were
1992, guys. Come on, we're way past that, or 90, whatever it was.
Well, it's still the best
but
movie out of all the
this
Jurassic
trailer,
movies.
when you see him holding up his hands for the two big,
yeah. Blue.
And what's her name is still like running around in her high heels.
Howard. Or, hey, remember those matches that you got? Oh yeah, here we go. No, I was very disappointed with the sequels.
But seeing dinosaurs in current life,
yeah,
kind of cool.
No, I'm going to see this one.
That's what's fun.
I am going to see this one, because they are harkening back to the first one. So
you know what was funny was when we went to see Maverick, Top Gun Maverick. There were like 5 trailers before it, and they were all animated movies, which is disappointing, except the Avatar trailer. But then I'm thinking about, they're all animated, but Avatar, and I'm like, Avatar is just as animated as they are.
Yeah.
You know, it's like there was like no real live action film amongst the trailers I watched.
Yeah, no, I can't remember what the trailers were. I remember Avatar, which another movie. I love, best 3D I've ever seen in my life. Absolutely stunning. Awful movie.
I don't know where you go. I don't know, because he apparently did 3 Avatar movies.
Yeah. Well, he said he's going to do 3 Avatar movies.
I thought he was shooting them all at once.
He can do whatever he wants. He's earned that. Okay, he's earned that.
Yeah, but are you anxious to see?
I could care less about Avatar. It's written by a 16-year-old. If you listen to that script, it's like, what the hell?
But again, the 3D though was like,
the 3D was stunning.
It was incredible.
But again, without like, who cares?
Well, corporations are bad. They're going to ruin our planet. I'm like, oh my god.
Well, that's true. But
well, there you go. That's why you like it. All right. So listen, Sean, thanks for joining us again. Hopefully,
glad to be here.
This will get us some.
Rest in peace.
This will get us 2 more views.
Yeah. Liotta Ray.
Right.
And guys, thanks for watching. And as I always say, hit the subscribe button, smash the like button, and if you like this, share it, please. We'd like to expand our audience. Yeah, right down there. You know where it is. So Ralph, get us with the music. Hit the remote. Let's get this music going.
Stand by.
And let's our exit. And everyone have a great week.
1, 2, 3. All right. See you guys. Have a good week.
Have a great week, everybody.